One Fine Morning, out in theaters, new French film from director Hansen-Løve, starring Léa Seydoux. She plays Sandra, a 30-something-year-old woman living in Paris together with her young daughter, working as an English-French interpreter. I think she's a widow. In any case, she's raising the daughter alone. She also partially takes care of an aging father who suffers from a neurodegenerative disease which is getting worse and worse, and he begins requiring care around the clock, which means Sandra now has to find an appropriate nursing home for him. And between caring for a young person and caring for an old person and working, she doesn't really find enough space in her life for herself. She doesn't really consider romantic love to be in the cards for her, not anymore. She believes that that is part of her past. But one day she runs into her old friend Clement at the park, a man of similar age who also has a young son and a wife. But he reveals right away that it's not a happy marriage. He's not happy with his wife, and eventually something more begins blossoming between the two of them. So the film was interesting for two reasons. First of all, because it's a romance story at that stage of life which I think is rarely explored in cinema. Usually romantic films deal with young love, people who are just coming into adulthood, or sometimes at a much later stage when they've maybe just lost someone they've loved and sort of have to start fresh at a mature position. But this type of love here is sort of different because it happens at that middle stage in the lives of its characters where where it perhaps shouldn't, where it's too late for young love but it's too early for that fresh start kind of thing. For Sandra, it's because she doesn't think that she has the capacity nor the time in her life to do that. She's sort of trapped in being a caregiver to the father and to the daughter. And for Clement, he's married. He's got a structured life already. And I think a large part of this presented affair has to do with this sort of idea of breaking the structure, of characters attempting to find something unexpected in their lives once again. And the second major theme is that of mortality, of facing it and confronting it and dealing with that idea of the inevitability of death. And this is of course done through the character of the father. Sandra has to come to terms with the fact that this intelligent, smart man, a philosophy professor, is suddenly in a situation where his own brain is failing him. Now, my problem with the film is that I've already seen this theme of dealing with death explored better in another French film this year, which was called Everything Went Fine. So it did feel a little bit like a retread of a similar story that I've just recently seen, only not as well explored as in that movie. And without being too impressed by this part of One Fine Morning, I felt that the romance part alone just wasn't enough to grip me as well. And it may have to do with personal response to it, but I just didn't find it too emotionally compelling. And it also didn't help that I didn't like the ending, which seemed a little bit too sappy for my taste. So, to put it somehow, into words as a summary, it's not like there's anything particularly wrong with the movie, and it does have some good performances in it, particularly Léa Seydoux, who is great in the central role. But on the whole, I just didn't think it was amazing. It was just a middling film.